Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to SuperNova Astrology Update for December 4th through 11th, 2023. Well, wow, it's been a powerful time. This whole first bit of December, we've been feeling lots of square energy, and that's because the sun and Mars moved over to Sagittarius and came right into that square with Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn at the very beginning of Pisces, Saturn has just made it to 1 degree Pisces. So we're beginning to unwind this story. Saturn retrograding back to 0 degrees Pisces before turning direct is telling us Saturn is the laws and the rules of our reality. It's our timeline. It's father time. It's our relationship to physical form. And so at turning direct at 0 degrees Pisces says, we got to rewrite this story. It's like we're down to the wire and we must reclaim our timeline and our world. And everything is about this. So with the sun and Mars, they're moving into Sagittarius, normally a time of coming back into the light after the darkness of the Scorpio season. But there's been this argument. And this is kind of how the world feels right now. It's like there's this constant argument, and we've been holding the light and being who we are and being true to who we are through so much crap for so many lifetimes, supernova souls. And there's kind of this energy growing in the collective and in supernova souls of we will no longer concede our reality. We will not tolerate excuse me, this this energy, this darkness, these lies, this deception, this control, the demons. We will not tolerate it in our world. And this is where we have to be. This is where we're being asked to be. Now, it's interesting because the energies that are coming up with this Saturn at the beginning of Pisces and beginning to move. Now the squares have come off. Mars has just come off of that square with Saturn. And then the sun has been in a square with Black Moon Lilith. And now Mars is in exact square with Black Moon Lilith. And so Black Moon Lilith is the deepest, darkest secrets. And in the sign of Virgo, an earth sign, it's talking about cleaning it up. So basically, the only way we can rewrite our timeline and claim back our divine ultimate, the world we know is possible and what we're here to see, it's just like, it's getting to the point where the only way to do that is to clean up the dark. But isn't it getting to the point where it's kind of like, wait a minute. There's this story of this plan and all this kind of thing. And we can feel that the light wins and God wins and the goddess wins ultimately. But what's going on in the meantime with this horrible energy that we have to deal with, and how much abuse and bullshit and lies and deception and misrepresentation, how much is a soul supposed to handle? And so there's this energy of like, wait a minute. Is this where we stand up and we have to say, as advanced souls, I will no longer be treated this way, in the name of awakening, in the name of saving the earth, in the name of any of this? No more. We stand up now and we take back our reality, and we do it every moment of every day. Now, the tricky part about this, though, is that with all the astrology that's been playing out, with what we've been feeling also last week, we were also feeling Mercury in square to Neptune. And this is a big part of the story because Mercury just went into retrograde shadow right when it had that square with Neptune, just before having that square with Neptune. So that's the marker. That's a very important energy of what this next 6 weeks or 2 months is about with this Mercury retrograde cycle. So square Neptune in Pisces is like the holdout, the old stories, the lies, the delusions, and the fact that we've got to get that sorted out if we're going to move into the Aquarian age. These lies and delusions of the past, it's like everything we're dealing with right now. The truth is becoming so evident in the constructs of this reality that have kept us so small and so disempowered. It's like they're hanging by a thread, this these constructs, and so there's no other way than forward and into the truth. But it's very powerful how this is all unwinding. Um, so this so I wanted to talk about these dynamics of the Pisces energy, Saturn trying to rewrite this story, Neptune getting so triggered. Um, there is a replay of something going on that's so hidden deep in our subconscious, we haven't even been able to access it. And so we haven't been able to heal it. And the unknown feeling and the uncertainty of the lies and the delusions and misrepresentations and the psyops are putting us in a position of having this, and we know there's changes coming that are unavoidable. Is this going to be aliens or solar flash or like, solar flares or like we've got so many stories, nuclear war, we're on the edge of all of it, right? But we have to understand that was we know supernova souls, we need to hold the peace and the presence of who we are right now. It's just so clear, right? Like you've done what you can do. You're here right now. You need to just come back to center. Be true to who you are. Just don't give up on the dream. Don't give up on your soul. Don't give up on the truth that nothing around you can validate except for you know this inside. And this is so powerful. But it's really important to know that the things that are playing out right now are triggering very powerfully deep subconscious stories of the past, going back to Atlantean time and maybe even before, like where we can't access. But there's this impending doom. And the impending doom is like something's about to happen and it's taking us back to a lifetime. And I think mostly it just very much fits the time of Atlantean time. But knowing that something really horrible was about to happen and you can't stop it. You can't do anything about it. So this is triggering a mass trauma energy. And so we have to understand that when we experienced this in the past, it was leading up to a catastrophe or that energy. But this is the end of all catastrophes. We're unwinding all of those stories. It's the only way forward. It's the end. It's all a lie. Just like our history is a lie, NASA, not a space agency. It's all freaking lies. And so one of the lies is that we, as advanced souls in Atlantean time, working with cutting edge technology, which we have today, but it's been hidden from us, right? That we were set up to take the blame for those catastrophes. But the truth is that they were all created by off-planet weapons, like directed energy weapons, same shit we're dealing with today. And from the beginning, right? Is this how they got us all to believe in this false controlling God that we had to like prove ourselves to and pay taxes and go through the priest and the pope and to get back to God? Is it through these catastrophe events, creating fear and then blaming it on the mother? And so then we have this dark feminine who's angry and mean and she's neglectful and withholding and punishing. No, 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 no. See how it's gotten all flipped around? So when you have this trigger of the impending doom, what happens is that there's a feeling like you got to do something, right? And so it's really important to be able to stop in that moment and be like, okay, this is triggering from the past because I know that I've done what I can do. I mean, we know we can always do more to be in presence, but that's really all that's being asked of us right now. And so when we have this energy come up, it's going to trigger all of our failures, fears, regrets. And of course, we've lived all these lives and we've been thwarted at every turn, and there's going to be some grief and regret. It's a bunch of bullshit. When are we going to get angry and be like, or, stand up and move out of that victim place and say, we are glorious light beings, advanced souls who have so much inside and beautiful offerings of gifts and treasures. And how much longer is it appropriate for us to be treated this way? To be completely quarantined, blocked at every turn, isolated from each other. It's just impossible. Now, that's the energy we're at. Do we need to stand up? Right? So we don't really need to do anything. We need to be in presence, but do we need to stand up and stop conceding our world? And in our body, we could see this metaphorically because what we have is a parasitic takeover of our whole reality. So, of course, the parasitic energies are in our body as well, in our world. And so, how do we stand up and we say, I will not play host? We will no longer support or tolerate the parasitic bullshit. No more feeding on our precious light energy. So it's like we are at this very strange place where we're being asked to surrender and let go of all the stories of the past of something we need to do or fix or heal or sort out or solve, right? And yet we need to stand up every day, every moment, and say no more to these parasitic energies that are feeding on our precious and beautiful light. And it's happening. We're taking it back. Now, this is the other thing that's going on because we're in a frequency war, and we've talked about this, but it's becoming way more evident. Just sorting through, of course, we all want to figure out what's going on, and it's not that helpful to try to figure out sometimes. But some clarity seems to have come through around this. Like, we're being inundated by nasty, harmful weapon frequencies. That's just been going on, right? We know this. And these are frequencies designed to create a disease state, to disempower us, to disconnect us from our will, to give over our soul, just say, all right, whatever, I can't handle the trauma. Just go ahead and, you know. So that's been going on. But the other thing, it's almost like that's in reaction to big changes that have happened energetically on the positive side. We've got healing frequencies coming in. What's been shown to me is that there's somehow a crack, like in the lower firmament or a new sun, or these just different energies. And we have been existing. Now we're in transition, right? So you'll go back and forth between these. But it's really important to just know and understand the transition that we're in, and that some of what we're feeling of attack is detox, like where the higher frequencies energies coming in are hitting the density and the constructs in our field and breaking them apart. And then it feels like we're breaking apart, right? Ego death. But there's also electromagnetic attack going on, but there's also this incredible healing frequencies coming in. So this is the strange place that we're at. But the message is that we've been operating on not a full spectrum in our quarantine here, and in this lower matrix reality. That's how they did it. So this is really important, because if we don't have all the colors of the frequencies right, we're not whole. And isn't it interesting how the way that has been used to control humanity is divide and conquer, turning us against each other, because of whether we're male or female or different colors or different religions or different races. And it's like, oh, no, 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 no. I mean, we're finding that there's a lot of beings that aren't actually human souls. So we'll just put those in another category. But we need the whole spectrum. If we don't have the whole spectrum, then we can't feel each other. We don't feel connected. And this is how they've done it. And so the full spectrum is coming back. So these are these frequency, but it's also like we're in this transition period where it would be quite a detox to all of a sudden, take away all the negative frequencies and bring in these higher frequencies. So it's like, and so where are we aligning in the moment, And you can feel when that happens, right? It's like, oh, they're trying to get me. They're trying to get me back in the battle, you know? And it's like, can we allow ourselves to walk out that plank, but then come back to center, to the balance? You know, it's like recognize it, go there, understand, but then be that Jedi warrior and bring ourselves back to like, no, 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 no. This is what's true. This is what's real. Oh, there's this big story you got to get all emotionally involved in. It's like, I'm emotionally involved in this right now, my heart. Yeah. The truth, the light, you know. So, what's happening when we do, so it can feel so frazzled and so broken apart and so like the future. And so we're being asked to, the message is like, again, it's easy to get knocked off right now. It's also much easier than it has been to realign. But it takes dropping those constructs, but that's what they want you in the construct. So it's like, oh, and how am I going to figure out this problem and this solution and and how am I going to survive? And oh, but it's like, that's the game. What if the full spectrum is now available? The full spectrum is like all those doors that have been closed, everything that's been blocking, you know. Um, but there is a message here too, like of just being where we're at so determinedly, like, yeah, this freaking sucks, but I'm gonna be here where I'm at. And that when every door is closed, like a lot of supernova souls have been feeling, that means there's a door opening in your heart. And that's exactly what we're talking about. So you got to be steadfast and determined. We're realizing time is slipping away, right? I mean, it's going so fast. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to that day, the week, the hours, whoa, oh, there is no time, right? And so we only have right this moment if we're in it. That's, so bringing ourselves back to that, and in that moment, that alignment, say, okay, I've been frustrated looking. It's about being just where we're at right now and understand that where we're at in the story, this outside manifest reality is not going to validate you. It's not going to validate your dream, your truth, your path, your destiny. It is designed to absolutely invalidate you. But big deal, right? Because it's like supernova souls, we've been invalidated from the get-go, the light called the dark and persecuting the pure and beautiful heart, And so going within and knowing that it can't last. I mean, we got to feel this, right? It feels like we're stuck forever in this tunnel, but it can't last, right? Time moves forward, things move forward. Astrology is moving forward. We've had square after square after square for months and months and months. And you know what? Now that this square with Black Moon Lilith that we're feeling with Mars right now, and that's just like, ugh, it's that, talking again about this feeling, this like something is horribly wrong, like nauseous. This is the energy when you're it's like tapping into the collective and having to face these deep dark truths. It's really actually about the extraction that's happening. We talked about how when you heal parasites from your body, you can have parasites and not have any symptoms, very little symptoms, just not even realizing it, and you're just coexisting. And it's only when you go to heal those parasites, do a parasite cleanse, and that's when you feel the dark black, like you feel them dying inside, and you feel the death, and you feel the extraction, and it's healthy, it's good, you're setting yourself free, but you feel like dog shit, and that's what's going on now. So remember, the full spectrum, these new frequencies of light that are coming in are literally extracting out the parasitic reality. But there is a detox where actually the amount of extraction that's happened is so profound. And yeah, we feel like, well, a lot of people have been sick. It's just like, but it's actually pretty minimal compared to the healing crisis is pretty minimal compared to the amount of extraction that's happening so fast. Like literally evil is being like zapped out of our world right now. And then can we do that too in our own being? You know, it's high vibration. So we know that as we evolve, the vibrational frequencies of the higher dimensional realities, it's like, that lower evil shit can't be there, can't exist. And this is what we got to do in our body, in our frequency, in our mind. And it's so hard because we've been under attack. It's our pineal gland and our higher chakra system that allows for the higher frequency vibrations in our field, but it's just like we've been under attack at every turn. But it's important to know that so this is going back to this frequency war thing. Okay, so we know we're all infected with nanotech and we're transmitting it to each other. Not, like just it's happening. That's the design of this dark infiltration that's attempting to interfere with our connection to our God code DNA. The nanotech, this is how, when, a few years ago when we were like, because the nanotech, it's in the modern medical disaster, but it's been in the chemtrails for years. It's food additives. It's freaking everywhere. Every single pharmaceutical drug, any mainstream foods, it's all got nano in it. It's in our clothing and our fiber. It's like, and but the nano is carrying a message, right? And so when you look at the research of this technology that was originally supposedly designed for healing, right? There was from the beginning the fail-safe thing. If the technology in the body doesn't do what you want it to do, you got to reprogram it and deprogram it, right? So the nano can be in our bodies and not have a program, or maybe we can hijack it, right, to our own program. But the way you do that is through a mild EMP, electromagnetic pulse. That's how they deactivate the nano. Okay. So is that what we're experiencing right now? And you can think of the last couple of years. I mean, remember, I know it feels really hard right now, but at least it's not 2020, right? Remember that scary ass shit? You got to have a mask, go in the store, and like, and that level of programming that we're all like, oh my goodness, how did this happen? That humanity could get so programmed. And that's how it happened. And now that, these frequency vibrations that are coming in, are defragging and deactivating the programming that's in the nano, and nothing can stop it. So just know we're in this strange place. It's like, oh, another frequency attack, another white light coming in. And it's just like so wild. And maybe that can help too. Just be like, holy crap. But wow, what a time to be alive, huh? And it's not going to stay like this, right? We're on the precipice of massive change. And I know we've been saying this for so long, but we are at that place where the boulder's coming to the top of the hill and then it must roll down. So just keep heart and just know. So let's just feel out what these energies are like. The really intense energy right now we're feeling has to do with Mars square Black Moon Lilith and Venus in Libra. Incredibly challenged, going up against Pluto and Capricorn. They're in exact square today. And so this is this fight for freedom, and the weakest part of us having to be the strongest, It's like all of our masculine way of trying to navigate and get through and make things happen and fight the fight and win the war. That shit ain't working, And it's our weakest part of ourselves, our most vulnerable part of ourselves that's actually facing down the monster to take back our own sovereignty. And so this is where we're at when we're talking about owning our permission for our world and the life that we need to thrive. There's a time for life to be totally fucked up so we can learn and grow and come back to who we really are. Then there's a time for shit to get cleaned up and organized, you know, like, and that's where we're at. And so we're standing up. So this is Venus square Pluto, right? It's like, oh, the strength of standing up against this monster and like with the last of your strength, right? It feels like it's like, oh, I've been through so much and I'm so alone and I just um but listen to this. Venus had an opposition with Chiron, and then she came into conjunction with the South Node last week. So, South Node in Libra, facing everywhere in the past that she rolled over and played dead and didn't stand up for herself. Now she's facing Pluto, so she's got to face it down, you know? But it's really powerful because then she moves over into Scorpio on the 5th of December and then comes into a trine with Saturn on the 6th. So we're already starting to feel this energy today. The Venus is trine with Saturn, and it's just kind of like, and then later in the month, next or coming up later this week, we've got Venus will make an opposition with Jupiter and an opposition with Uranus. But she's got a little bit of a break here coming out of this square with with Pluto and into a sweet trine with Saturn, saying the feminine is going to win the day. You know, the meek will inherit the earth. This is the truth. And so she is it's just like kind of this celebration of how far she's come since her retrograde in the darkness and standing up for herself. And she's getting challenged, right? She went through that retrograde. That was her inner process. Now she's proving to the world. We know how that works. Try to prove your worth, right? The feminine keeps trying. Anyway, but she's proving it. And this trine with Saturn is really sweet. So finally, we get to enjoy the energies of Sagittarius because it's been just square, square, square. And we've got just this little kind of breather. And the other thing that's happening is that Mercury went into retrograde shadow and then just moved into Capricorn and had that square with Neptune. And that's a marker, the square with Neptune at the beginning of the retrograde, going into retrograde shadow, and then coming out of retrograde and then turning direct. So get this. This first Mercury square Neptune just happened last week. The second one will be after, so Mercury turns retrograde on the 13th, and then in Capricorn will go back into Sag. So when Mercury goes back into Sag, he's going to meet up with Mars at 24 degrees, an exact square to Neptune for his second square to Neptune with Mars at the very end of the year. So this is telling us that 2024 indeed is a whole new reality. And Mercury and Mars our warrior and Mercury our mind, coming together in Sagittarius, squaring up with Neptune, saying, we're not buying the old stories. We're claiming back the dream. And so it's just a powerful marker. And then the third and final conjunction with Mars and Mercury will happen at the end of January. So that's kind of this, we're getting a timeline here. And so the Mercury retrograde is super dynamic. It's going from Sag, Capricorn, back to Sag, back to Capricorn. So the Sagittarius Capricorn cusp, Sagittarius is like, the dream, the vision, the seeking, the learning, the expanding. And then Capricorn is like, oh, yeah, are you sure you can handle that level of freedom and autonomy and authority? Or do you have authority for your dream? Do you have your own authority for your dream? Or are we going to let them keep creating a nightmare for us? Fuck that, And so it's very powerful, this energy. And then Mercury turns retrograde at 8 degrees Capricorn, which is transformation, right? So it's transforming the authority of our mind, our perspective, so that we can claim back our dream. So it makes sense, these 3 squares with Neptune challenging the stories of the past, with Mars, the warriors on board, the masculine is finally getting their ducks in a row to work together. And so the other thing that's happening, and we're feeling the first one right now, is Mercury will have 3 sextiles with Saturn. So right now we've got Venus coming into trine with Saturn and Mercury sextile Saturn. Very sweet. And Mercury sextile Saturn, sextiles are creative solutions, right? So it's like this retrograde is jimmying the lock on that new, the old timeline, new realities. And so that we'll be feeling those through this week, both of those. And it's a very dynamic energy and setting the stage for this whole Mercury retrograde. So Mercury will also have 3 trines with Jupiter. So 3 squares with Neptune, 3 sextiles with Saturn, 3 squares, 3 trines with Jupiter. And and 3 conjunctions with Mars. So Mercury is like working it, right? He's the messenger going back in between all these elements, being like, are we all on the page? Do we know what we're doing, right? Because if we weren't in our full spectrum and we got factions, it's always all about fighting each other for the light because we didn't have the whole spectrum. We couldn't feel each other and feel whole and feel connected. And so Mercury's like visiting all these elements and kind of reconnecting the dots. And it's like, okay, places, get in line. Get in, find your places for this next part of the movie. And for Supernova Souls, we're finding this place is deep in our heart. Deep in our heart, being like, okay, I'm not looking for it out there anymore. Right? I mean, we know it hasn't been working, but it's like, whoa, the juxtaposition of what's playing out there and what's the truth in here. It's so profound. And yet it's only proving to us this truth that's been with us this whole time, validating, finally the validation. Because we're not looking for it out there, right? So really powerful Mercury retrograde turns on the 13th, will turn direct, go back into Sag on the when does it go back into Sag? On the 22nd for the solstice. Hook up with Mars for that square to Neptune and turn direct on the 2nd of January. So everything in the astrology is pointing to a massive marker at the end of this calendar year. Like it could be that leap we take. The energies over solstice, over the end of the year, very dynamic and a lot going on. And so take a breather, breathe in these new energies. Imagine that there is this new frequency range that's healing. You can just breathe and be present and receive healing and detoxification. Just orient yourself towards this Venus trine Saturn, Mercury sextile Saturn. It's like, okay, tap into that flame in your heart, the eternal flame, the truth. It's a magnetic pull, calling you back to center within yourself and to the center where we're meeting up and getting into position to hold space for this transition that's happening. And so incredibly dynamic times and powerful. And I think this week we'll be feeling a little bit more of that lighter energy, like, oh, okay, it isn't just about the squeezing, the darkness, the struggle, the alone, the poverty consciousness, right? And that's one of the things that's really showing itself, is that it's often, we could just say, those old constructs, right? And we really want to bring our vibration to the center, but also that's in alignment with the ideal ultimate timeline, which is abundance, and that we have everything we need. We have so much which we do because we have access to higher technology that gives us everything. It's just been stolen from us. I mean, literally and figuratively, metaphorically and real. So, how do we stand in this abundance every moment and be like, construct? Nope, no, no. All right. Trying to tip me in the scales into the drama. I'm coming back to center. It's a very dynamic and interesting game and powerful that we are alive to experience this here together. But no, it won't be like this forever. And just go to that door, the one that is open in your heart, and be present with this truth. Don't let go. Hold on to what you know in your heart, not the constructs, but the truth of who you are spiritually. This is how we get through this. And it's like nothing we need to do as much as we need to be in the presence of this truth and this light. And when you're there, more and more you can feel the power of the magnetic pull of all the souls getting in line and being present and showing up and coming back together in the full spectrum experience of our birthright. And we're taking it back now, you know? So thank you so much for being here and receiving these messages, working with these messages. And it means so much to me. Also, your support in the soul group. There's a membership, $10 a month membership, $20 a month membership for SuperNova Souls. Very powerful to come together. We're on Telegram doing live chats, morning meditations. So very important time to stay connected. And so I super appreciate that. There's also a donation page if you want to make an offering that way. But I just appreciate your support, your being here, you SuperNova Soul, going through all you've gone through to stand strong and true and real right now. Don't let go of the truth that you know in your heart. And it will all pay off. So it's hard not to get discouraged with how hard it's been. And just this, as we have this grief come up from the past that's being triggered, it's like, oh, and I'm never going to get anywhere and da 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 da. And that's just the old stories. You've gotten so far and nobody can take what you've got, what you've attained, which is your soul. And it's so beautiful. And what a beautiful world we have coming with finally the expression of what's inside the SuperNova soul, inspiring the world. And we're almost there. So don't give up now. Hang on to the dream that is you. And you're one little spark of light that holds that whole dream, you know? But that's all it takes. One little spark lights the whole room. And we're all a part of that eternal flame that we never gave up on and never gave up on us. So just let that magnetic pull, the feeling of all the other souls coming into this deep presence, this knowing we're right here and we're doing it and we've arrived and we're together and we're in love. And the feeling of aligning with that destiny is so powerful. And that's the medicine that keeps us out of the weeds and out of the constructs, you know. It's like, no longer feeding the parasite, right? Parasite of the mind, the parasites in our body, the parasites, the negative thinking, the dark energies that just want to try to make us like them. And they did not succeed. We only became more pure in the truth of the light that we are. So live that truth, breathe it into your heart and to your soul. And thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you. We've got a Sagittarius new moon coming up next week, next Tuesday. Look for a new moon, Sagittarius new moon activation. That's a powerful new start, leading us into all the events and transitions of the solstice and Christmas end of the year. Mystery drama unfolding. So very powerful moment there, because that Sagittarius new moon happens at 20 degrees Sag, 40 minutes. So very close, not too far, 3.5 degrees out of square with Neptune. So there you go. We've got this looming lies and deceptions that keep us in the constructs of the past breaking down. We're seeing through the false matrix and holding on to the light of truth. And thank you so much for doing that and being present with us. I love you so much, Supernova Souls. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Lees. Namaste.